All right, Brandon, welcome to the show. Most people are running as fast as they possibly can away from gaining body fat, away from obesity, because we know the different things that it can do to people. You see all the GLP-1 ads all the time, and there's other versions of GLP-1s now coming out, supposedly to the rescue of the American population. What has made you go towards gaining a lot of body fat? How did this get started?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a crazy thing to be doing. First of all, I just want to say, very grateful to be on your show. Grateful that you reached out to me. This is an honor. But it's yeah, definitely a wild story to start with. I finished cutting last year. I was around like 230, got down to 180, and the beginning of this year, I was starting to post more and more. And my buddy was like, dude, I think you should just do something insane that just is the complete opposite narrative of what somebody would expect. I'm like, okay, let's hear about it. And he's like, I think you should try to get as fat as possible in the next 5 to 6 months and then document how to go about losing it. And I'm like,
What a
wow,
terrible
that's like
friend, by the way. He's just trying to get you out of the, he's trying to take you out of the game.
exactly. And at first I was super against it, and he kept pitching the idea, and probably 3 months after he initially said it, I'm like, you know what, screw it, let's just do it. And the reasoning that I thought it was stupid at first and then I agreed to finally do it is because I think there's so much misinformation out there on how to actually go about losing weight, and I think so many people that already are in good shape or they've been doing it for years on end, they're preaching people how to go about doing so. And it's so funny because once I started it, people started commenting, "Hey, this is just like fit to fat to fit." And I'm like, "What is that?" And I actually didn't find out about that until after I started doing it. And Drew Manning, I've actually been in contact with him about it, and I would say it's a similar idea, but a little bit different. A little bit different because I'm still lifting weights, so it's kind of like a dual narrative where I'm trying to get as big as I can, but also see, okay, well, how strong can I get while I'm getting fat on purpose? And another reasoning for why I wanted to do it is because my little brother and my mom, they're both overweight, and I think a lot of the things that I tell them they just take with a grain of salt because they're like, oh, this is something you already want to do. You're already in shape. This is the lifestyle that you're after. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't I try to put myself in their shoes to then show them, hey, it doesn't matter where your starting place is coming from. If you do these simple habits day in and day out, over months, you will be able to lose weight, and it's not as difficult. It's not a full time job like a lot of people preach it to be. So I was running with that narrative. I was like, you know what? Millions of people are overweight, like you said. They're flocking to the GLP-1s. And I think GLP-1s, we can talk more about that, but I think they're just a catalyst, but people are using them as the full-time fixer-upper. And it's like you have to get the right habits in place first, and then you can use that to help if you have that raging appetite. But that's pretty much how this crazy story originated.
Fit to fat to fit. Um, he got himself in a bind, like he was like, oh, I'm just going to gain all this fat and I'm going to show my clients I'm going to lose the weight. And then it was very difficult for him to, go the other direction. With your experiment, I want to say it sounds very familiar because, I started my basically adult powerlifting career. I was powerlifting when I was a kid. Um, but as an adult, I started around 230 or 235. And then I ended up, gaining 100 pounds and being, all the way up to 330 pounds, and then kind of worked my way back down and tried to find the sweet spot for strength. Are you finding that your strength is exponentially increasing as your weight's going up, or is it like, or have you found a sweet spot with maybe just like a slight bulk rather than like a massive bulk?
Absolutely, that's a fantastic question. I have found that my strength has just skyrocketed. When I first started, I think I was doing maybe 255, 265 for like 5 reps on incline. I just did 315 for two last week with no food in my system. And the hard part that I'm having is it's not the losing the weight. I think because my entire life I've just been a skinny kid and I've had to like force myself to try to put on size. For me, even right now, it's like I've hit this plateau. The highest I think I got to was 264, 265. And I have no appetite, completely shot. So I'm having a hard time getting fat, which speaks in its own, that the quality of the food and your starting point and stuff. I'm trying to do it for the experiment and the project, but it's really tough. But to go back on the strength side of things, I mean, I did 225 on flat for like 23 reps the other day. On seated shoulder press with the barbell, I did 225 for six. I mean, it is actually insane how much your strength goes up. Now, the correlation with all the fat gain, I don't really know. I think, okay, maybe if I'm 240, 245, I could probably do the same weight as maybe 255, 260. I think there may be diminishing returns, but that's hard to say. I
Yeah,
think maybe if I get to 275, 280, I'm hoping, like my goal, I really want to hit a 405 bench before I make my way down.
yeah, that kind of happened to me. I hit a point of diminished returns. I hit a point that if your sleep gets too compromised, um, then you're really fighting an uphill battle, because it is nice to have the leverage. It's nice to have the belly for the squats and some of the certain movements and stuff. And it really helps a lot, when you do a movement like a bent over row or something. You just feel, honestly, your blood pressure feels like it's through the roof, but that blood pressure feels like it gives you a lot of strength, and it
Yeah.
feels like it gives you a lot of power. And so, yeah, I do think there's kind of a drop off point and like a sweet spot for someone to kind of get to. But to your point, so many people have questions about strength, and very rarely is it talked about just from a caloric standpoint. Like someone will say, "Hey, I want a bigger chest." It's like, okay, well, we got to talk about your food. Like that's
Hmm.
the first thing that we got to talk about. We got to talk about your food, not your incline bench, not your flat dumbbell press. We have to talk about your food, because if you don't have the supply chain of what you need, then you're not going to be able to grow. You can gain strength and stay the same weight. You can gain strength sometimes and lose some weight. There's definitely, some things you can do with your nervous system from a powerlifting perspective that are helpful. But for the most part, you want to gain some, weight on your squat and just gain some body fat.
100% agree.
That
You're
way,
just not going to
you
see the
don't
growth as quickly if you're not willing to be in a calorie surplus. Period. And I
right.
think the bigger of a surplus, and I guess it depends on, okay, do you want to be more of the processed food side or whole foods? It's just harder to eat 5 to 6,000 calories of all whole foods. But for sure, I mean, if you're throwing down 5K a day, it's kind of impossible, and you're progressively overloading and doing the right things in the gym. It's damn near impossible to not throw on some size and strength.
Any idea like how much muscle mass you're gaining during this process?
I've been working with this doctor out of Denver. His name's Dr. Chef. He flew me out like last month and he did a bunch of different body scans and this and that. And he said I think I was at like 125 or 130 pounds of skeletal muscle or something like that. He thinks that because I'm still weight training and I'm hitting my protein for the most part. He thinks a lot of this weight is going towards putting on muscle rather than the fat because, I'm fluctuating between 250, 255 right now. I've taken a week off waiting for some of the peptides to come in and we can talk about that because I literally just I have no appetite at all. And I am a little bit of a taller guy, so I think I hold my weight better, but I'm not even like fat yet. I just look like I've just did like kind of a dirty bulk at this point.
You
Yeah.
seem disappointed.
I am, because the goal is I don't want it to seem like a mockery of people that are obese and
I see.
fat and stuff. I just did a podcast last week with this guy that was at first very against what I was doing, and then he finally had me come on because he's like, you know what? I'm seeing the bigger picture. You're doing all the blood work, you're doing the science behind everything, and that's exactly what I'm doing it for. Is to show you, okay, how bad is it for your body to be overweight, all the biomarkers going from where I started to now, just in the span of 5 to 6 months, how much worse my testosterone and A1C and glucose levels can be. And for me to have such a hard time getting fat with how easy it is nowadays with all the hyper palatable foods, and you can get food you just in the snap of a finger. It's disappointing for me because the entire point of the project is to get fat and show people, okay, I went from this point to this point back to this point, and this is how you do it.
The thing that kind of sucks about being fat and gaining fat is that it's something that everyone sees. You know, if I'm, looking at porn way too much, like that's my own dirty little secret, right? Or if I'm drinking, some people will drink when other people aren't around, or some people, and maybe it gets noticed, I guess, after a while, especially if you're drinking and you're getting drunk. But somebody else might be able to sneak food, right? But if you're heavy, you kind of can't do those things, and you're judged right off the bat for the way. I
Hmm.
mean, we're all judged for the way that we look, right? But when you're holding that body fat, it's like something that some people haven't even really done that much to be as fat as they are because of
Hmm.
genetics. We have to kind of face the facts on that. And everyone's like, no, 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 it's calories in, calories out, no matter what. But Look, you mentioned having some family members that are pretty heavy, and you're on the lighter side yourself, and you're doing this experimentation. You're having a hard time getting
Yeah.
fat.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a genetic component for sure. I think my body's doing its absolute best to just pump the brakes where I went home and then I came back and out of nowhere, it's like I wake up, I'm nauseous at the end of the day, and I'm just trying to get food down, but it's like it defeats the purpose because it's like, well, if I'm gonna just force feed, I'm probably gonna throw up, and then I wasted time and money and food. It's like, well, there's no point in me trying to do that if I can't even keep it down. And that's why the past couple of weeks have been extremely disappointing for me because I'm actually trying to get fat, which is insane. Like people don't even have to try. And I guess because I am gaining a bunch of weight very quickly, that's something going against me as well. Most people that get fat, they're not getting fat within 5 or 6 months. It's years of gaining, okay, a pound or two a month, and then it accumulates. With me, it's like, well, I'm trying to throw on 70, 80 pounds in half a year. So my body is just pumping the brakes with that, and it's been tough for sure.
You can make some sense of this too. Um, so you said that you're kind of naturally a thinner person, right? Are you naturally a thinner person, or have you spent most of your life like playing sports and maybe you're not super obsessed with food?
That for sure could be it. I mean, in high school when I graduated, I'm 6'2", so when I graduated I was 160. And normal walking around weight for me now is probably around 210, 215. And I went through a phase my first year, you know how they say freshman 15? It was more like freshman 50 for me. So I went from like 165 all the way up to like 220, 225. I was just trying to eat as much as I could. And then I think that really accelerated me getting out of this like naturally skinny, not really eating as much as I should. So yeah, that's kind of my
Did you have
background with that.
digestive issues as a kid?
Yeah, I when I was younger, I had pretty bad constipation.
Because I find that to be really common, and I find it to be common. You know, I got into running a few years ago, and running into some friends that are way into running and that are actually really gifted at running. I found a common thread between many of them. Many of them were anxious, and many of them had like digestive issues. And I thought, how interesting! Like they have digestive issues, they're smaller framed, and so of course they end up being a runner.
Yeah.
For me, I always just like was a little bit bigger. I was a little bit stronger
Hmm.
without even really lifting any weights. And when I started to lift weights, which I started at a very young age, I was quite a bit stronger than my friends, and I just happened to love it too. So then that compounded on top of everything. It just led me down, the right path for me. But I think that's an interesting thing because genetics do play a huge role in how your body deals with carbohydrates, how your body deals with lipids, whether your body is accumulating plaque in your heart or whether your body is having a hard time dealing with the amount of carbohydrates that you're taking in. There's definitely a lot of genetic components to it, but then there's epigenetics. There's like what you're doing and your environment.
Yeah.
And for you, did you play a lot of sports and like were you super active when you were young?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely I was. Yep.
And you're still and you're still very young. Um, what is kind of the overall goal with this?
Overall goal is I really want to be able to document because of course there's plenty of resources on the internet on how to go about losing weight and the consistency aspect. I think the biggest thing for me is just showing the behind the scenes, the science and the biology of what happens to your body when you completely do a 180, when you're not moving as much, you're not getting your 10K steps like you should. I'm still active in the gym, but I'm not as active as I normally am. I'm eating mostly crap foods. That's the biggest thing. And then the sleep, of course, like you mentioned, the heavier you get, just the worse that you sleep. I notice that I wake up more and more throughout the night. And it's just combining all those things. It's like, hey, just showing it and proving it. It's like, yes, we know, like the clinical research and this, it's not good to be overweight, but why is it not good to be overweight? Okay, well, let's take a look at the biomarkers, the blood panel, and the nitty gritty of everything going on. Okay, how much my test has already dropped off. It was over 1,000 before I started this. It's already down in the 600s now, for example.
And this is
My
natural.
fasting insulin has tremendously jumped up. My blood glucose is almost at 100, so I'm already almost pre-diabetic with that. All these different markers that are changing because of how I'm treating my body, and even just in a short period of time. So you can imagine what that's going to be like over years, over decades, and that's what people are living their normal life and they have no idea.
The body is so smart. It's amazing what the body can do and how long the body can be sort of damaged or heading in the wrong direction. And it kind of baffles me a lot of times. And we often wonder, like, hey, why did this person die at 52 and this other person lived to 75 and all they did, like, why is Ric Flair still alive
Yeah, yeah.
versus like someone like Hulk Hogan or some of these other guys dying? I mean, they're all living similar lives, I guess, but like Ric Flair is like kind of known to party and to drink.
Hmm.
He doesn't have a lot of excess body fat, but it is interesting. Each person seems to be able to deal with some of these things differently. Being someone that is, going to gain a bunch of weight, but then lose the weight, do you feel like to maybe prove your point more that you have to stay like fatter for longer? Or are you just gonna like get to like, let's say 300 pounds and then just make a U-turn and start heading back the other direction?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've debated that a little bit, and some people have commented on me hanging around being obese. And for me, it's like I don't really want to be doing any long-term damage. Like we just talked about, the body is extremely resilient. People can be smoking a pack of cigarettes and they live till they're 90, which is just insane. But it's like, is this going to affect me that super long term? I mean, I just turned 25. My entire past 3 to 4 years, I've been trying to do everything right. And it's like these 6 months is such a small snapshot of my entire life. So I can see either side of the coin. It's like, okay, try to be fat for a couple of months and then lose it, or it's like flipping around right away. Ideally, that's what I would want to do because this isn't my natural state, like the homeostasis state for me. It's like I want to be active. I want to be going doing things. I want to go play pickleball. Like I just want to get out and do stuff. And by me not doing it, I can already tell like the mental health changes where I'm starting to be a little bit more negative. I tend to just not be as optimistic with things, and I honestly don't know. I think I have to just get to that point and then go, okay, maybe I should hang out around this 280, 300 mark for a couple of months and then drop down to show people like, okay, it's not that flip right away.
So imagine what it'd be like if, you're doing this experiment and then, God forbid you have a slight injury and you can't even really train, like you start to think about how tough that is mentally. And
Hmm.
I know that like some people have never gotten to the other side on training. So they've never, they maybe never have felt, they maybe have never been like bit by the iron bug. They don't feel it maybe the same way that some of us fitness freaks feel it. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I believe it's programmed in everyone's DNA to move a certain amount every day. I used
Hmm.
to say, like, I think that it's programmed into our DNA to move or to have a calorie output that's equivalent to 5 to 7 miles every day. For someone that's between, 18 and basically 55, 60 years old, it's a pretty long span of like moving around a lot, and you're at this stage right now, you're kind of forcing yourself to not move around that much other than just hitting the gym. Is that hard? Is that like, that's got to make you kind of antsy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I don't really want to be hanging inside all the time, but I know that the more that I move, the more I'm just going to be burning, and it's going to take me even longer to put on the weight. So it's like, okay, if I want to be done with this as soon as possible, I need to just not move as much. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree that it's programmed into our DNA and our backbone and stuff. I mean, we had to do that for hundreds of years before we became more of a sedentary society. And it's so funny because the doctor that I'm working with, he even tried to pitch the idea to me. He's like, I think you should just stop working out entirely. He's like, because if you want to appear more fat, if you stop the working out, because he thinks that the muscle, and I for sure agree with him on this, that the muscle is just so protective. He thinks that my markers and all my levels would be way worse if I wasn't continuing to still work out and strength train and try to get stronger. And he's like, if you want to get fat as possible, stop going to the gym entirely. And then you'll get really fat. And to hear that, it's like, oh my God, because like you said, we've trained ourselves. It's part of the mental health. It's like, yeah, the appearance, the aesthetic side of looking good coming out of the gym, but also the discipline side and keeping your sanity by going all the time. It's two things. Once you get to the point where you're big enough and you like how you look, you're just going for your own self-respect at that point. And like that's for me, it just keeps me mentally healthy by going and getting the pump and working out and moving my body, like you mentioned.
It's hard to tell what's worse, bad food or drugs. You know, drugs seem to kill people very abruptly. When people get into like recreational drugs, seem like someone could die at nearly any age, right? When it
Hmm.
comes to bad food, it seems like you can bad food yourself to death for like a pretty long time before your luck runs out. Your cholesterol has to be out of whack for a long time, your triglycerides, your ApoB, and so forth to start to really accumulate plaque over time. And if you're doing drugs, with some of those things, those could all be things that could be compounding things that make things way worse. Not getting sleep, is another great way to like compromise your health. And usually, like I would just say like most people that are like this the size that you're at now, or even my size, I weigh around 215 to 225. Um, and people that just kind of hold a decent amount of muscle mass, whether it's muscle mass or body fat, a lot of people are having sleep apnea, and sleep apnea is just extremely dangerous. Like your brain doesn't get full recovery each day, your muscle tissue doesn't get full recovery each day. Are you starting to feel some of the effects of that? Do you know if you have sleep apnea or developed it?
I got some sleep testing done. This was probably last year, so this was when I was below 200. And I was worried about that because I felt like I was getting my 7, 8 hours and I didn't feel rested. But I think the problem with me is my sleep regularity because there's times where I'll go to bed at 10, 11, and then there's other times I go to bed at 12 to 1. And I think the most important thing for sleep is going to be, okay, just going to bed the same time and waking up the same time every night. So I don't think I have sleep apnea yet. I think because I have had a thinner neck my whole life, I'm not prone to that like some other people are. Maybe like wrestlers or football players where they just naturally have that thicker neck. But no, I don't think I have that, but I have just noticed where it is easier for me to wake up during the night or I'm more of a light sleeper.
And you're in college?
No, so I'm in dental school right now. So I'm a
Oh,
second year
cool.
dental student. Yeah, over in Utah. Yes,
Let's
sir.
say is this project being funded
No, I wish it was.
sponsored by like a hot dog company or something?
It's being funded by all of my classmates making fun of me and noticing me getting fatter and me getting a bigger butt and stuff. But no, it's not not being funded by anything. No.
What are the so okay, there's a fun side to this, right? Especially in the beginning. Maybe it's not that fun anymore, but it probably started out fun. Yeah, what are you even chugging there? You're chugging some calories right there, what you're drinking?
Oh no, I didn't sleep that well last night, so I'm drinking a Grill of Mine.
Oh, okay. And is there any calories in that thing?
10.
Oh, we gotta get you right. I'll show you. Many people that have been around me have not only have I gained 100 pounds, but many people around me have gained 100 pounds as well. So I can get you there fast.
Yeah, I definitely would need some pointers for sure. I've been struggling.
What's been some of the yeah, I know how to get fat. What's been some of the fun part of it?
Fun part has for sure been the strength. Just it seems like you like when you first get in the gym and you have the newbie gains, that's what it feels like right now. So that's been extremely fun because I'm training for that. I'm eliciting those gains by training in the smaller rep ranges, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, trying to throw on an extra plate or something every single week. So it reminds me of that when I first started in the gym. And then the other fun part has was probably just the first week or two when I was able to eat whatever I wanted. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. But I think at this point, I just have palate fatigue where I've just been slamming something crappy every day for almost every meal. And because I was so rigorous and disciplined before doing this project, where I couldn't even remember the last time I even ate out or went to Cane's or something. And I love Cane's. And then all of a sudden, flip of the switch, I'm having Cane's 2 to 3 times a week. It's a matter of time where you're just gonna be like, dude, I'm done with this shit. So that's the point I've gotten to. But the first week or two was phenomenal. It was great.
A good hack for you might be to get some like either peanut butter or almond butter, some sort of nut butter, and some honey.
Okay.
And those two things go together really good. You dip you dip your spoon in a little bit of honey and a little bit of peanut butter, and you'll be like go just crushing through that peanut butter. Like I mean, you're gonna eat peanut butter pretty fast anyway. Most people are, but with the honey, it makes it easier to eat it faster, and it makes it taste better. You don't even need bread.
What's weird about that is I'm not really the biggest peanut butter guy. Like I'll have it, But what I've noticed is the deeper that I've gone into this whole project, the less I crave. So it's like the past month, I've had zero cravings. And if anything, I've kind of reverted back to like my healthier lifestyle where it's like I haven't had eggs probably in like 2 to 3 months. I would have eggs every single day, like a steak, just something healthier. So it's weird how my body has responded that way, where it's not, okay, this positive feedback loop where I'm like, okay, I'm having more hyper palatable foods that taste really good. I think I've just gotten like dopamine out, honestly, with the foods.
I think what you're saying is actually really helpful, and it's a slippery slope. You know, when you start to combine fat and carbohydrates together, like I mentioned with like honey, or you do so with like say a sandwich or pizza, ice cream, all those things,
Hmm.
cheeseburger, all that kind of stuff. It tastes really good, and it's really easy to go over your caloric amount. And so you can't necessarily just tell someone who's big, like, hey, just go for it. Just eat your cravings. However, I think a good idea, though, is to try to maybe attend to those cravings here and there. The hard part is how do how do you tend to them without releasing the monster? Because there's kind of in a lot of people that are heavy, there is a and not even just people that are heavy. In a lot of people, period, there's a binging side of things.
Hmm. Hmm.
Where they end up like binging. But you're probably well beyond that too. I mean, this has probably crushed your binges. It's probably
Yep.
crushed your cravings. And I know all these foods are still in, like they're still on the menu, and so that's part of the reason why the cravings have like subsided.
Hmm.
Do you think this is like a strategy that somebody else can kind of utilize, or is it too dangerous? You think for a heavier person to mess with?
I think because I come from a background of being like, because last year, like I said, I cut and I cut for like 8 to 10 months, just took my time with it. I ate the
Wow.
same thing every single day. And for me, it's like I view food as for performance, not pleasure. People that are overweight, they have it the other way around. And I think that, like you said, it would be a slippery slope. Trying to do what I'm doing right now, where you just like burn out your receptors, I don't think it would work that way for them because I've ingrained in myself, like part of my identity is the way that I eat and by respecting myself that way. But people that are overweight, people that haven't taken care of their body, they're not going to view it that way. They don't come from that same perspective. So I think for them, it was an Alex Hormozy video, and I know you guys have done a video. I love that vlog that you guys did when you guys went to
Oh,
the
it was a lot
Dragon
of
Slayer and
fun
stuff.
training with
That
him.
was great.
I shared some of the Alex Hermosi, which he now uses against me all the time. I told him it's really rare for someone just to say no and then not say anything else. Like, or especially through like text, hey, like you want to do this or want to meet up here, and you just say no and with no context because it seems rude, but it's
Yeah,
totally not rude because you asked a person a question, right?
yeah.
So now I ask Alex every once in a while. It's like, hey man, it'd be great if I could come out and we can record another one of those videos in the gym, and he'll write back no. No, period. You a bitch.
But what I was saying was it was a video that he made, and I think it's so simple, and that's how it needs to be pitched to people that this isn't their lifestyle. They're coming from the other side of it. Is okay, if you're trying to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit, period. But no one's saying that you can't have some of these foods. Like they've done that Twinkie diet, right? Where they've only had Twinkies, but they're in a calorie deficit and they lost weight. Now, is that the best measure? No, because you're not having any protein. And it's like if you just front load your protein, you prioritize that with, chomp sticks like this or protein sodas or something, and you still
Yogurt,
have a
wine.
thousand
Yeah.
calories left for the day, you can eat whatever the hell you want, bro. Just track your food. I think the most important thing that is completely overlooked is that people care more about the scale weight rather than what their food is weighing on the scale. Like people aren't weighing out their food. And I think that right there was the biggest hack for me because if I wasn't tracking it, if I wasn't using MyFitnessPal or anything like that, I was not eating the food, period. So I knew every single day that I was in a calorie deficit. So many people, they like to cut corners and then they go out to eat. And it's like, okay, what oils, what butters are they using? If you just get that out of the equation, you track what you're eating, you're hitting your protein, and you still have those hyperpalatable foods, those cravings that you have, you can lose weight. You just need to track that rather than caring about how much you weigh on the scale.
I like that a lot because I've been somebody that's gone back and forth on the calorie counting thing. I don't always love it because I think people maybe obsess over it a little bit too much,
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
they only count and track when they're doing really well.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, what's the point of that? Like, if you're going to count and track anything, you should be counting and tracking brownies and ice cream. Like, what's
Yeah.
the point in tracking broccoli and chicken? Like,
Why track broccoli? Like, it's
I
negligible.
know, right? Yeah,
And
right? It's not going to really do much to you.
yeah, to add to that point is I think people stress too much daily calories, where it's like if you just
I
go over
see.
the week, like you're going out for the weekend, that's fine, dude. Go have your beer and your chips and your burger, but just know that you're gonna have to have less for a day or two during the week. And if people can shift that mindset to where it's okay, I have to have 2,500 calories over 7 days, whatever that number is, probably like 16K or 17K. Okay, if you're gonna have 3,000 one day, you have to subtract that and then divide by the amount of days that you have left. And if you eat like that, you're still gonna lose weight. You're still in a calorie deficit, and you can still go out. You can be social because we all hate that guy that goes out to dinner and he's sitting there, he's not getting any food. It's like, bro, why aren't you eating? And it's like, oh, I'm on a diet. It's like, dude, at least get something. You can have something. Just sacrifice later in the week.
You, how much weight have you gained? Around 60 pounds so far?
I started a little bit less than 210 and I got up to like 262, so a little over 50 pounds.
Yeah, I was just
Like
messing around.
55, 50, 55.
I was messing around with some calculations the other day. Just again, I'm not a big, like a calorie is 100% a calorie. I understand the dynamics of the whole thing, and I get it. But sometimes it's just fun to kind of look at the math. And I was just thinking, for somebody that might gain, 30 pounds or have lost 30 pounds, 30 pounds represents over 100,000 calories.
Hmm.
And when you think about how do I get into a 100,000 calorie deficit? Well, if you're in a 300 calorie a day deficit and you do that for the whole year, then you're there and beyond. You're
Yep.
probably going to lose more like 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that that's not difficult. Not at all saying that that's not difficult. It can be, but you have calories in and you have calories out. So like if you normally are a 5,000 step person a day and you are able to, from there maybe get in to 7,500 steps a day,
Hmm.
every single day, or having it average out, as you mentioned, to be 7,500 steps per day per week,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
addition to, cutting back on something. Um, there's so many different ways you can do this. You can cut out a macro. You can cut back on a macro. You can cut back on two different macros. You can cut back a little bit on your carbs and your fats. You can cut back on just your carbs. You can cut back on mainly your fat, or you can count the calories as well. And what you said is that it seemed to me like if you're not eating stuff that's if you're not eating stuff that's tracked and it's not fitting the calories that you're having for the day, that's basically you cheating. So you only have one. You basically, if you think about it, you got one rule to follow. I mean, maybe your protein, right? Like maybe you hit your market for protein and hit your calories.
Yep.
So the only way you can cheat is if you don't eat enough protein and if you go over on your calories. And I think people need black and white because for me, if I tell someone like, "Hey man, why don't you just try this for a while? Why don't you just try not to eat any carbs?" We know that it ultimately comes down to calories. But maybe for that person, maybe they like those quote unquote fattier foods. Maybe they like omelets. Maybe they like cheese and avocado and bacon and
Hmm.
steak and eggs and burgers and stuff like that. And they can have a diet where they don't eat a lot of carbohydrates because it doesn't feel like it's that difficult to them. Or you got the flip side of it, the person that loves carbohydrates, and you say, all right, we'll have fruit. You have some fruit juice here and there. You have some oats. You have some rice. You got some potatoes. Keep your in both cases, keep your protein high because if your protein's
Hmm.
not high, you're going to be hungry as hell. And that should help you to manage your calories and you just keep your fat low. So there's so many options when it comes to diet, but there's so many diet tribes, and people get really offended when you
Yeah.
start kind of mentioning like, oh, there's so many different ways of doing this. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that nutrition has become like religion in a lot of ways?
I think it's because people they want to try to reinvent the wheel. I think it's because they want to try to have something new or something different, some new fad. And it's like if you just dumb it down for somebody, it's like, okay, you like more of the fattier foods, you like more of the carbs, that's fine. But if you just the biggest needle movers, like we talked about, is if you can have a fat protein meal as your first meal, let's say it's 80 grams, 100 grams, because it's so satiating, that's going to keep you full for way longer. If you do some of these other things like have carbonated water, chew gum, get more veggies in the system, like I think it's just the nitty gritty. Like we're just getting stuck in the weeds, and you don't have to. I think if we just pull out, it's like, okay, we know protein, how important getting your protein goal is in for the day. That's a non-negotiable. Whether you like fats, whether you like carbs, it doesn't really matter. I don't really care. But the people that I work with, I tell them, I go, if you hit your protein in and you focus on moving, just hitting more steps, because that was a big mistake that I made when I started my cut last year. And I'm glad that I made this mistake was first thing I did was I spent an hour on the bike every day. Why would I do that? If that is not my normal baseline, all I'm doing is I'm telling my metabolism, my body, hey, this is the new regular. Okay, at first, maybe you're burning 250 calories, but over a week, 4 weeks, you're not going to be burning 250 calories anymore. And now that's your new baseline. It's like, why even go to those measures when you're first starting things? If you hit your protein, you're in a slight calorie deficit. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be 100 calories, 200 calories, but you're hitting 7,500 steps, 10K steps, and you're getting your steps up, you will lose weight. You will shed it very, very quickly. And until you're getting close to that 12, 10, 8% body fat, in my opinion, you don't even really have to do dedicated cardio. That's what I feel in terms of the whole like religion side of nutrition stuff. I think it's just people wanting to promote something, put something out there, some diet fad to make it seem like, oh, this is what worked for me. Where it's like, if you just do the principles, those other things are cool and all, but it's just the icing on the cake, respectfully.
And I think cardio is a great thing because it can do so many other things for us, but all we focus on is like it can potentially assist with weight loss.
Hmm.
But sometimes that's where people kind of get stuck and they just think about just cardio. Like, oh, I'm going to do starting on Monday, I'm going to cut my calories and I'm going to go
Hmm.
and go on the stairmaster. And it's like, well, why don't we just take things like one little step at a
Yep.
time? And a decent practice would be before every workout, if your gym has it, maybe you go on the stairmaster for 3 to 5 minutes. Like that's,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like just something that simple. And then maybe if you want to get shredded, you want to start getting down to 8% body fat and take some pictures or compete or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's maybe where you think about it. Where you're doing 20 minutes a day, 6 weeks out from the competition, and then you're doing, 30 minutes almost every day, and you eventually go to like maybe 60 minutes 4 or 5 days a week, or 90 minutes a couple times a week, something like that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those things where it's like as soon as you start doing something, you can't really backtrack, in my opinion, where it's like, okay, let's say that your
You
maintenance
can't
is
backtrack without
2,700.
consequences.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I
You
mean, you
just can't
can, you're just going to
stop. Yeah,
stall.
yeah.
So it's like as soon as you drop down to 2,300 calories, right? It's like, well, why would you jump back up? That just doesn't make sense. And it's like, okay, once you plateau at 2,300, okay, you have two options, either to increase your movement, your output, or decrease how much you're putting in your mouth, with your freaking elbow. So it's like you have to go down. But I think the biggest needle mover that is not really talked about much is the importance of, like we talked about how my doctor wants me to stop working out. I think muscle building and strength training, if you want to lose weight, I think that is the best form of cardio, not getting on the stairmaster, doing the rower for 45 minutes a day. I think if you can go into the gym 3 to 4 days a week, you can focus on trying to add a rep or add some volume, whatever. That is going to move the needle more than trying to do more cardio and burn more, because it's so expensive to have muscle on your frame. It is such an expensive currency, and for you to keep that on your frame, your body has to ramp up the metabolism. And it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like with people that are stuck where they've been trying to lose weight and let's say they're at 1,800 calories and nothing will budge, at that point, I think the best thing that they could do is either go up to maintenance or go up to surplus, try to put on some muscle in their frame for a few months, and then drop their calories. And I think that will break through the plateau quicker than just dropping down to 1,500 calories and you're eating practically nothing.
It's not any different than strength training. You keep trying, and your 315 on the incline bench isn't going anywhere. Well, it's time to use a different weight,
Yeah.
and what are you going to do? Go up? You can't go up. You got to go down. You know,
Hmm.
you have to kind of backtrack, just like you said, and that person might have to go back to maintenance calories. Somebody might have to do, you know, they might have to back way off of a particular exercise in the gym that they're trying to get stronger at, that they were doing 3 sets of 3, and they were really, you know, working their way to a new max, and they went to do their 3 sets of 3 for the week, and on set number 1 they did 3 reps. On set number 2 they did 2 reps. On set number 3 they only did 1 reps. They missed out on a lot of volume that they otherwise could have gotten. And so, you know, where do you go from here? Well, it's time to reverse your way out of it, sort of like reverse diet, right? That's
Hmm.
very similar principles. Regroup, you know, go to 225 and see if you can do, you know, 4 sets of 10. See if you can come out this thing from almost like a conditioning perspective rather than just a strength perspective. And I like that about the human body. The human body needs like breaks. I think it's a good idea for people to try to challenge themselves and to try to do certain things with their body composition and their body weight. But once they kind of get there, then it's good to, like, you know, pull back a little bit. And I mean, for a little while, I was trying to lose weight, and I got to around 209, 210. I was trying to get to 200, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna get out of this, and I'm just gonna eat as much as I want. I'm still gonna eat extremely healthy because that's the way have always done it, pretty much.
Hmm.
Well, powerlifting, I was eating whatever, like literally whatever I wanted. But more recent
Yeah.
times, yeah, I've been eating very healthy, and I like those foods and stuff. And so I ate more for a while, and you know what happened? I gained like 6 pounds. It like wasn't even that much weight. It's like 6 or 8 pounds. And
Hmm.
then now my body has gotten used to the food I'm consuming now, and now I'm pretty much back to the weight that I was before.
Yeah. But you
So
probably look just as good. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, right. So it's like you almost get like a little recomp out of it. And I wasn't going crazy with the calories and crazy with the food, um, but it just goes to show you that if you can give your body a little bit of a break, and you'll find the same thing with training. You train, and some days you look in the mirror and you're like, man, like, it's not coming together. I don't know what's happening. Then you have a little bit of a break, maybe a vacation, maybe a couple days off, or maybe you just pull back a little bit your training. Look in the mirror again, you're like, holy shit, man, like shit's coming together.
Yeah.
It's like you're bipolar with your with the way that you look, you know?
Yeah. With the body dysmorphia. Yeah. I think people, they get kind of addicted to the process, which is great. Like they're getting addicted to the right things, but then they're all gas, no brakes. And it's like that should not be how it is. You should take a deload every couple of months. You should try to, and like for me, I found out about refeed days a little bit too late into my cut. And I wish I did that sooner because I think I would have gotten my results better. Where it's like you're in a deficit for weeks to months on end. And it's like just throwing in a day or two where you give yourself more carbs, more calories, you're not gonna go back up. You're not gonna get fat from doing that. So you might as well just throw in a day or two. It gives you better energy in the gym. You feel better, you recover better, and it reminds your body, hey, I'm not starving you on purpose, bro. Like I know I'm in a deficit. Here's a quick reminder that the metabolism, like I don't want you to be that blunted because that's what happens when you're in a deficit for so long. Your body has no other choice but thinking, hey, we're starving right now. We're going to shut down all these processes. We're going to slow things down and try to preserve what we can. And that's why it's so tough for people to lose the love handles or the lower body fat because your body is doing everything at all costs to try to keep that on there because it just thinks that you're just starving it at that point. So I think doing refeed days or possibly like we talked about, like a quick bulk where it's like, 3 to 4 weeks or something. What are your thoughts on reverse dieting? Because I've had great success with it this past year where I weighed the same, like when I was beginning my cut last year and I was down 20 pounds, how I looked at 215 last year versus how I look 215 this year is like night and day. I looked way leaner, I looked bigger, and I don't know if that's entirely because of the reverse dieting and because I still trained hard when I was cutting, but I think so many people after they do a show or they get down to the single digit body fat, they just go ham with the food way too much. And then they pack on all this body fat. And it's like, if you can just slowly ramp up your calories, slowly ramp up your metabolism, you could be eating potentially 3,000 calories and look just as lean as you were when you're eating half that.
The name reverse dieting sounds so funny, you know, like you're doing the reverse or opposite, you know, of dieting, but that's not really what's going on. You're just kind of reversing your way out of it.
Hmm.
You know, when it comes to like periodization with somebody lifting weights, again, it kind of works in a similar fashion where you'll get to a point where you went pretty heavy and you went with really low reps, and then you have to raise the reps back up, raise the sets back up, and attack things from kind of a different angle. It's the same thing with your food. And so I like reverse dieting. I think even just from a mental standpoint of, sometimes a coach will say, hey, you know what, you lost 15 pounds and you did so in 4 weeks, and you're doing really well. I want you just to take the next 3 days and do whatever you want. And if a coach says that to you, you go, what? You're like, do whatever I want. And they'll say,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, well, do whatever you want, like for one meal, for the next 3 days. Okay. And then tell me how. It's just like reprieve. It's just a break, and in your head, you're like, oh, I get this like little break. Or you reverse diet the way that you were mentioning, where maybe you add 250 or 300 calories each week for a couple weeks until you maybe get all the way up to like 1,000 calories. But I think for the most part, guys probably shouldn't gain more than like 15 to 20 from their set point of where they competed at. Unless they're like trying to do some massive crazy bulk or something, they got plans with something extraordinary. But for the most part, I think you should stay within decent striking distance. If you're bodybuilding and you're really trying to put on muscle in the off season, you can make an argument that you might need to put on a little bit more than that. But I think 15 to 20 pounds for a guy, and then maybe around 10 to 15 pounds for a female, I think all of it's reasonable. But some people will put on 30, 40 pounds and it'll be like right after the show. Like it'll be
Yeah.
like a week later. And you're like, what the hell happened? You're going to put the weight on. I think it's safer to put the weight on a little slower. Larry
Mhm.
Wheel put on like 40 pounds in like a couple days and his legs were all swollen. And I think you can just get yourself into a compromising and kind of unhealthy state. One thing I wanted to say is that I think that some people think that like gaining any amounts of fat or having any amounts of fat on your body is unhealthy. And it's not that black and white like that. There's different types of fat on your body. There's visceral fat that goes around your liver and your heart and kidneys and so forth. And that seems to be more dangerous. But there's people that can hold, a decent amount of body fat. I do think that it's in the best interest of a lot of Americans to recomp their body, to gain some muscle mass, lose some body fat. I like your idea of like, it'd be cool if everyone was into training and not
Yeah.
working out. It'd be cool if
Yeah.
everyone, training, like you're training for something. And then people are like, well, what are you training for? Like, I don't know. I'm just training to kick ass in life. Like, I just want to be awesome. I just want to be strong and be able to move and be kind of quick and be explosive. Like, that's what I'm training for. But, I think that people just think that any kind of gain of body fat is like, whoa, like what do we, this is scary. This is terrifying. And I don't
Mhm.
really believe that to be true. I think there's a lot of folks that, like, I have a lot of friends that are power lifters. And, we don't want to always just go by like people that are the highest up. But unfortunately, in bodybuilding, and there's so many reasons for this, but unfortunately in bodybuilding, we've had a lot of deaths.
Yeah.
And you don't see that. It's not as common in powerlifting and strongman. And I'm not saying that powerlifters and strongman guys, especially those of us that have abused performance enhancing drugs, I'm not saying that we're safe. I'm saying that what I'm saying is that having some body fat on you is not as detrimental as you might think. And bodybuilding, people that are really dieting hard and getting super lean, it might potentially be dangerous, more dangerous
Mhm.
than what we see with powerlifting. But again, there's a lot of drugs when you start to get into the IFBB pro level of not that there's not drugs in powerlifting, but there's a lot of drugs in that level of bodybuilding. So that's probably the most responsible thing for the deaths, and not necessarily just the leanness. But I just like to point out, like, I have a lot of friends that I think are very healthy. I know they've gotten blood work and they're 40, 50, 60 pounds. In my opinion, they're 40, 50, 60 pounds overweight.
Mhm.
It's also important to keep in mind these guys are still pretty young. So at the moment, they're still pretty healthy, but they move around well and stuff too, and they're strong.
Yeah. I think to add to your point is I think because bodybuilders they go to more extremes and powerlifters they're not depleting themselves so much. I mean, you got to think like when you're eating as little as some of these bodybuilders are and they're getting 5, 6% body fat, I mean, they are starving themselves of everything. I mean, they get the delusion, they're having practically no fat. I mean, I imagine some people they're having single digit fat. And it's like you got to think what that's doing to your hormones, everything that's going on in your body. And powerlifters are not doing that. They're just, yes, they have more fat on their body, but they're giving the body the building blocks and the abundance that it needs. And it's like I think there's a genetic the part of it as well because for me it's like I don't think I have much visceral fat even with me at 260, which is kind of crazy because like I said, I think a lot of my fat goes to my legs, like my quads and my butt and everything. But other people, they may have the same build as me, 6'2", this and that, but they may have more of it going to their love handles or their stomach, and that is, like you said, where the visceral fat is, and the visceral fat is dangerous. We know that. There's no getting around it. So I think another factor is the genetic thing, and I don't want to make the whole thing about genetics because I think people then start making excuses. Oh, my genetics, I can't get lean, this and that. No, I mean, you're just making excuses. And at the end of the day, if you do the things that require you to get lean or require you to get big, you will get big. It may take a little bit longer, but I just think it's because bodybuilders, they go to way further extremes. It's like the UFC fighters. It's like, why are there weight classes if they're not walking around at 155 and they walk around every day at 190? What is the point of them dropping 35, 40 pounds every single fight? That is so terrible for their body. Not only the fact that they're probably going to get CTE later in life, but every single fight, 1 to 2 times a year, they are killing their bodies to just make weight. And then the next day when they're fighting, you really think they're 155? No, they're probably fighting in the ring at 175, 180 because of the refeed and just putting everything back in their body after the day and a half of the weigh-ins. So I just think it's because of that right there. And usually it's when people like collapse on stage, right? Is when like the deaths and stuff. Yeah.
Blood work, blood pressure. You mentioned, or it might be worth getting it checked as well. Maybe go through Dr. Sean O'Connor. I can put you in touch with him. He's
Okay.
really big on getting MRI scans to check visceral fat. Have you been checking some of these things? Have you gone as far to have like a coronary artery scan or any of these kinds of things? Like what have you been doing to try to like I guess make sure that there's some decent health practices in this whole venture to gain body fat?
Yeah, the only two things I've been doing is I've been getting blood work like every 2 to 4 weeks. So that's been the biggest thing that I've been doing.
What have you seen?
It's kind of a double-edged sword because it's like I'm trying to get as fat as possible and make my blood work look as shitty as possible. But on the same side of that, it's like that is the complete opposite of my identity and who I am. And it's like, well, I'm still taking supplements. I still take, my omega 3s and my multivitamin. And it's like, should I be doing that? Deep down, like my soul is telling me yes, but for the social media side of things and trying to make things look as worse as possible, I know I probably shouldn't be doing that. But at the end of the day, there's no project out there that is worth my life or my health, and I'm doing this for the knowledge and the education side of things, but that shouldn't go at a cost of me having to deal with something. Like I already told myself my agreement is like, hey, if anything crazy popped up where I had to go to the ER or hospital, I'm just done with it because it's not worth it for me to continue going on and risking my life or developing whatever because of this. But I
Have
haven't been doing any of the scans though, like you mentioned. No, I
Have you
haven't.
seen anything crazy with your blood work?
Mm, the blood work, my liver, I would say probably my liver enzymes have been the biggest thing that I've noticed. My ALT and AST have been a little bit higher. The GGT has been normal, which is good, but I think it's just because of the influx of all the calories, influx of just the shit foods that I've been eating, and the inflammation due to that. I think that's the reasoning why my liver enzymes have gone so high. But outside of that, like I mentioned, my testosterone dropped by 40% within just 3 weeks.
Wow. And you don't use any TRT or
No,
performance
no,
okay.
no, no, nope.
Um, what about blood pressure? Have you noticed any
But
changes in blood pressure? What about even just like say like something as simple as just getting up off the bench press after a hard set? Are you all like purple and red or
yeah, like today when I benched, because I used to do sprints when I was cutting, and I love doing sprints. I'm a huge
cool?
component and believer in doing sprints. And when I got off, I was just like cranking. I just wanted to see how many I could do 225 on incline. And my last rep, like I got up, I'm like, oh my God. God. Like going up the stairs, I think no matter how good of a shape you're in, you still are somewhat out of breath doing the stairs, like real stairs, not the Stairmaster. But
Right.
definitely, my cardio for sure has gotten worse, and that's something that I have been definitely trying to be more mindful of, and that's why, we could talk about it as well, like the peptides and stuff that I ordered. I I'm gonna be slamming a bunch of food again, and I still want to stay active because I know just the heart, how important it is and how neglected it is, even with people that are healthy. I mean, even just you going to the gym, it's like, well, you're not really doing anything for your heart. Yeah, you're going to live longer lives, but what about a better life because you're cardiovascular? I think that's something that I neglected for years where I just was like, oh, I'm going to the gym 4 to 5 days a week, I'm good. I don't need to do anything for the heart. Like, I'm not trying to be skinny like a runner where it's like, no, like, you can still, like Nick Bear, for example, like, you can still be jacked and you can also have a fantastic cardiovascular system.
What's the deal with the ladies? Do the ladies like the extra fluff?
It's so weird, Mark, because I didn't even know this was a thing. So I'm getting
Oh,
fat, and a bunch of guys start commenting, and they're like, "Dude, like we know what this is all about." And I'm like, "Bro, I have no idea what you're talking about." Apparently, there's like a big community of gainers where people get off to the idea like they like people that getting fat, like they enjoy watching that. And the amount of people that have DM'd me like, hey, like, I'll send you this money to make this video. I'm like, dude, this is weird. This is so weird. Now, in terms of the girls, I don't really know because I prefer how I look when I'm leaner. It's just, better definition. I feel healthier. I feel better. But I wouldn't say that like it's any worse. And to me, I tell myself, I'm like, hey, if I'm able to be confident at 260 and rizz up a girl, like just imagine, just imagine like how she'll like me when I'm lean at 10, 12% body fat
right.
and I actually look good physically with my shirt off. So it's been mixed opinions, but the whole gainer thing, it was completely threw me off. I didn't even know that was a thing.
The power bears are making a comeback.
Exactly, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I got banned. So before we got in touch,
Oh yeah,
I
you got
my
banned.
my first account, I was growing pretty well, and I got banned out of nowhere for child exploitation. And I'm like, "Oh my God, this sucks." Because this is where I finally started taking off and gaining some traction. And then of course, you know how it goes, like, if you get banned or anything, you're kind of sulking for a couple days and you start feeling bad for yourself. And I'm like, "Ah, screw that." There's plenty of people that want to see what I'm doing right now. So I fired up a new Instagram and got some growth and stuff, but it's not nearly where it was before, which sucks. But I have a court date against Meta in a couple of months, so
Oh
we'll see
yeah.
how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah, how strange. I know it's like real delicate with, diet information and all that kind of stuff. So I guess some of it makes sense. I mean, I'm grateful that we have these platforms that we can speak on, and I'm grateful that to be in touch with people like yourself that I otherwise probably wouldn't have a chance to meet. And same thing with YouTube. When my YouTube got taken down, I'm like, well, I'm just grateful that I had a platform in the first place to do some of this shit on. But it just sucks that it sucks sometimes you get banned.
It's all about perspective and gratitude. And as soon as I've adopted that mentality where it's like, oh, like, they took it down rightfully, or wrongfully, and, this is so not fair. I just looked at him like, hey, I've been able to impact this many people's lives, and I've been able to put out a good message. And like you said, use the platform for this reasoning right here, not using it for the wrong reasons. And I'm grateful that I've taken this first step. I've taken the initiative of not caring what people think about me, getting the hate from my classmates about, oh, I'm a fitness influencer and this and that, and just doing what I have a passion for. I'm like, you know what? I'm grateful for that reasoning right there. So that's why I couldn't really be that mad when it happened because I'm like, I can always make a new account. It's okay.
Did you pick up some like MK77 to help with hunger? To help you get hunger?
So I was going to do that, but I know that's kind of a touchy subject with, oh, if it's a SARM or not. I don't think it's a SARM, but because most of the fitness community thinks it is, I just opted not to do it. I decided to get GHRP6. I heard that one is like really, really good for the appetite where you inject it 10, 15 minutes later, you have the munchy sensation, which is exactly what I would need. So I just got that in the other day, so I need to, reconstitute it and whatever. So I was planning on starting it either today or tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's just supposed to just increase some hunger and help you to gain a
Yeah.
little faster.
Yeah. Yeah, because at the rate I'm going at right now, like I said, I've taken 3 to 4 weeks to kind of like chill on everything, and I've already lost 10 pounds. Like my body just does not want to be fat. Maybe I'm not the best candidate to be doing this project, but I ended up doing it anyway, and I just don't want to do any half measures. Like my mom is like, "Hey, just stop it. Like you're big enough now." And I'm like, "You don't understand, Mom. Like I'm not fat, and maybe that's something like you would do, but I'm not trying to do something half-assed. I want to do it to where I said I was going to at least get to this point right here and then drop down because at the end of the day, it's like when I would get back down, I would always have that in the back of my mind that I never finished it the way that it should have been finished.
Do you try to stay away from things that are like really satiating, like potatoes and stuff like that?
I haven't had potatoes in a while. Haven't had
I mean,
potatoes in a
potatoes
while.
are
Yeah,
good.
I'm trying not to eat foods where it's going to make me fuller. I'm trying to like I'll put my protein at the end of the meal. I try not to have it first. I try to backfill my protein at the end of the day. So rather than having it like in my first meal, I'll try to have like mostly carbs or fats. So pretty much anything that would be applicable for cutting, I'm just doing the complete opposite. Using bigger spoons, like when I cut, I use smaller utensils. Like I know that's like the nitty gritty, but for me, it's like, well, I'm not the best candidate for someone to hop on retatrutide or semaglutide. I don't need to do that because I don't have a blazing appetite. So it's like, well, I'm just going to do these little tricks here and there to mitigate some hunger when I'm cutting.
How many calories are you eating when you are trying to gain the weight?
I was having minimum 5K, maybe on the lighter days like 4,700, but for sure 5K easy.
It's almost like you got to like adopt some of the methods of like a sumo wrestler. You know,
Yeah.
like I think they intentionally don't move around a lot. They eat a lot later in the day and stuff like that.
I would say the hardest part for me is okay, let's say one day I hit 5,000 calories, but it's the idea of knowing that I have to do this every day. Where it's like with cutting, it's like for me, I prefer to fast. So I'll fast probably till 12, 1, 2 p.m. because I'm usually nauseous in the morning. I don't have really a big appetite in the morning. I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'll have some caffeine. I feel better mentally anyway. I speak more fluent. And then as soon as I get food in my system, that's where kind of shit hits the fan and with my energy levels and not getting as much done. But with the bulking, it's completely different. It's like if I want to gain weight and do it as efficiently as quick as possible, I have to eat this every single day. And it's the idea of knowing that every day that I wake up, I have to face this huge mountain of hitting 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 calories without fail. I think that right there is the hardest part for me when I'm doing it consistently.
Mm. Might have you hit up like someone like a Nick Norwitz or something too. He'd probably find an interesting study within what you're doing because you know checking your like A1C and all these different things like have those things stayed intact pretty good like the way that you're managing glucose and stuff.
Yeah, A1C hasn't budged much, and that's expected because it won't change much. It's more of a long-term measure, like 3 to 4 months. It's still below 5, which is
So it's going to
phenomenal.
take
I
a
mean, I think
while
when I
to
started, I
be able
was
to alter that.
4.7, and I'm like 4.9 now or something. So it really hasn't budged. My glucose for sure has. I was in the high 70s or low 80s, and now I'm close, like in the mid 90s to high 90s. And yeah, I probably should have had my test readily available to share on screen with you so we can go through it. But that is what I can recall with that. And then, like I mentioned, the fasting insulin. I think my fasting insulin was like 2 or 3. I don't know the exact unit that they used for that, but now it's in the teens somewhere. So it's like 11, 12, 13.
Are you going to compete in bodybuilding? You think maybe like you'll maybe from turning this around. Have you ever competed in bodybuilding before?
I no, I've never competed. I would love to do it. I told myself when I finished dental school because my school, I'm in school pretty much year round. I told myself when I finish dental school and get my license and all that stuff that I would want to do at least one show. I think it would be great because last year I got down to 8, 9% body fat. I was like 185 pounds and I was like that close to where I could have done it. Probably should have done it then, but I didn't. But I think that would be fun to do at least once in your life. Just give it a try.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe do it when some of this experiment's over with. You know, like
Yeah.
maybe maybe it's before you're out of dental school, but it's just like when this is over with because you might have like a lot of newfound mass on your body.
Yeah. Yeah, I really don't know what to expect when I get down to 215. Like if I'm down at 215 and that's before was me at 205, I'm like, wow, like I really put on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle by doing this. And then it goes to show it's like I know a lot of people preach about not dirty bulking, but I mean if I threw on 5 to 10 pounds and I've been lifting for 3 to 4 years already, it's like, well, maybe there's some truth behind it. But I'm not trying to preach and say that's the thing to do. I would much rather lean bulk and be in a slight calorie surplus, but maybe there's some truth behind dirty bulk, and if you do it right, you're getting your protein in, you're trying to get stronger, and you're not just bullshitting around in the gym. Maybe there's some truth to run one dirty bulk cycle.
It's funny because I look at your Instagram, and I know what the mission is, and I'm like, wait, is he fat now or not fat? Like, because you're not fat.
Yeah,
You're just bigger than you used to be.
yeah.
And so I'm like, where are these pictures of him being like really fat? So we gotta
Still
get you.
waiting on those.
Yeah, exactly. We got to get you have to have a better after picture.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that's why when like my mom's like, because you know how concerning moms are,
Yeah.
and I'm like, look, like I'm doing everything that I can. I'm working with the doctors. I'm getting my blood work done. Like I'm doing these things. I'm not just going willy-nilly and shooting in the dark with doing this stuff. You also got to keep in mind, it's like I'm not coming from a place where I'm a smoker or a drinker. Like I come from a healthy background with the things that I've been doing anyway. So I feel like that's why I would be a good person to be doing this experiment because I'm not coming from a place of a detriment anyway. But yeah, I absolutely need to get fatter and look fatter, whether that's having some bad downlighting or slamming some canes and a bunch of water and I step on the scale or something. I need to for sure make the after look way worse.
Thank you so much for your time today, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It's been an honor, and I'm glad that we're able to make it work.
Where can people find you?
Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, it's the same name across all of them. Beefcake Wellness. It's definitely an interesting name, but I've just rolled with it since day one, so that's where people can find me.
Thanks again, man. Have a great rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you so much.